It's Sydney, and this is the Shameless Black Girl Podcast. So I wanted to address an elephant in the room today. This is an elephant that I think that many of us are seeing, but many of us don't really know how to approach the situation without sounding crass or egoic. And I think it's high time for us to set the record straight. I am seeing so many digital chats surrounding Black women and their money, i.e. the money that we make. And I'd like to break that down, bringing some statistics as well as some of my personal opinions, because I think that it's time that we talk about this. We're seeing this in many different angles. We're seeing this from many different spaces. But most importantly, we're seeing this topic being discussed on podcasts. And I think that it's time for us to pull in the reins, and I want to add my personal spin on some of these takes. Now, maybe it's the side of the internet that I'm hanging out on, but I'm seeing this digital chat happening a lot. And I think that Black women, we have to speak up for ourselves in these arenas, and many of us don't really have time to, but I'm going to make the time today. Clock it. Now, on one hand, we are seeing Black women who are performing across the board, whether that's in the classroom, whether that is at work, whether that's in our businesses with our husbands or wives, whether that's with our children. Many Black women that I know, many Black women that I share community with, many Black women that I just see, you rarely see Black women able to show up coming up short because we don't have the space to do so, right? And something that I know is that Black women, we're performing in these spaces with or without money. Clock it. In many ways and spaces, many of us can really recall a time where a Black woman was able to show up and show out to just perform and to just get the job done and to make shit happen, whether she had the money or not, because it's really built in us to do that, but it doesn't mean that it's always easy. There's just something about Black women who are just determined to get shit done. Amen. And on the other hand, I am seeing so many Black women who are still performing, right? They're still performing, but something that they are lacking or something that they are missing in their lives is that romantic partner, right? I'm seeing so many Black women who are struggling with partnership and finding accessible partners who they can actually go toe to toe with, to date, to marry, to even be courted by. And I think this is something that we need to discuss. And let's not forget the point that somehow Black women seem to become less desirable based on how many accolades we achieve, based on how much we make, based on how high we go. Somehow along the lines, we become less desirable. Why is that? Let's break this down a little further, shall we? I've got the statistics here. Let's read them off. Black women are receiving 64% of bachelor's degrees, 71.5% of master's degrees, 65.9% of doctoral, medical, and even dental degrees over Black men. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm 100% a lesbian woman, but I think that it's high time for us to start thinking about these things and how they impact people like us. Clock it. Also consider the fact that me being a lesbian woman, I date women who are feminine, but also women who are masculine, who fall into some of the same patterns that Black men do. Clock that. And outside of the traditional education system, I want to break down some other statistics as to how Black women are still getting to that bag. Black women are also the fastest growing entrepreneurial demographic in the United States, starting businesses at higher rates than our counterparts, with 17% of Black women who are in the process of starting or running a business. Clock it. And I say all that to say, all of the effort is in the pudding. All of the fruit is in our labor. I think that Black women are getting all of these accolades. We're getting all of this attention. We are breaking record numbers because of the effort that we are putting behind it, correct? And somehow behind the scenes, we're getting chastised for it, for our credentials, for our accolades, for the things that we worked really hard for, because we don't have a counterpart who is able to actually meet us halfway. Let's take it a step further. My question here is very simple. Why can't Black women like money? Why is that? Not only do we have big bills that cost money, we also have the big dreams that cost a lot of money too. Oh, and don't forget the taste that we have that costs a lot of money. Why can't we like it? Why can't we like it? Let's get into that. I don't know who needs to hear this, but Black women really do like money. Better yet, we love money, and money loves us too. Clock it. And the reality of the matter is, Black women are the most shamed for simply liking money, understanding money at a higher level, and going after that bag. Why are we chastising Black women for doing the thing? We're in America, right? This is what we're supposed to be doing. So why are we being chastised for actually doing the thing? I don't understand. It's not clicking, Stephen. And I know that Black women liking money is very broad. It's a very broad statement. So I want to break that down a little further. Black women are being shamed for liking money, but I think that it's time for us to break down exactly why we like money based on what we're facing. So what better time than now? I got to make sure I break it down for the people in the back. There are a few things that Black women are facing that I want you to keep in mind. Societal expectations, vulnerabilities in divorce, the race and gender pay gaps, and desire for comfort. Now, when it comes to societal expectations, I want you to think about this. Every group has some sort of stereotype, right? But when it comes to Black women, our stereotype revolves around us being loud, obnoxious, overbearing, and just simply mean. We're having to combat that every single day while we go and get that bag. We're having to think about that every single day when we go and get that bag. And we're having to tiptoe around society to make sure that we don't fall into the actual arms of those stereotypes. We don't want to be seen as that. We don't want the opportunities to be taken away from us because of those things. Even though our counterparts are showing up loud, angry, miserable, overbearing, and they don't get undercompensated, undervalued for those things. These are the things that we have to maneuver around. This is why our money is so important. Not to mention the fact that they think that we are loud and overtly sexual. So we have to think about those things when we're thinking about Black women maneuvering through this world and why money is so important to us. A lot of Black women, we simply need fuck you money. We need it to make sure that we can move efficiently through this world, just in case somebody tries us and just in case we get caught up in that stereotype that people already have based on who we just naturally are and based on some of the things that all of our counterparts are doing, but it's a problem when we do it. Clock it. Now, vulnerabilities with divorce can look like the top reason for us getting divorces happens to be about socioeconomic factors, right? Now that falls in line with these things: economic hardships, limited partner options, and education and income. Now, these are the main reasons why we're vetting so hard in the first place. We don't want to get divorces. So when we come into the situation, whether that's dating, platonic relationships, we are vetting these people to make sure that we can come in at least close to one another. And I think that Black women are being chastised for doing just that. We don't want you to be disappointed in the end, and we damn sure don't want to be disappointed. So when it comes to divorce and the fact that we are seeing divorce at a very high rate just across the board, no matter what color you are, I think that it's really important for us to think about how we're vetting our partners prior to actually getting in relationships with them, right? So oftentimes we see people getting into these relationships and they're not thinking about some of the main factors that cause divorce in the first place. So when Black women take it upon themselves to say, no, I am not going to be gullible and goody two shoes, and I'm not going to just say, oh, it's just about the love. I'm going to think about things like socioeconomic factors and how those things can impact a relationship. I'm going to think about that before, while we're dating. Somehow Black women are wrong for that too. Clock it. Something else to consider are those race and gender pay gaps. Now, despite us proving that we are qualified through all of our schooling, all of our training, all of our skills, despite us doing all of those things in the education system, somehow we're still coming up short. We're going for the money. We're trying to figure out how to make more of it, and somehow we're still paid less. This is why money is so important to us, especially when it comes to partnership. We're still battling in the workspace when it comes to job placement, job promotion, salaries, salary increases, and don't get me started with the businesses and the funding that we don't get. Clock it. Isn't money a factor when it comes to our lives? Think about it. Now, I know y'all see where I'm going, right? When Black women are asked on these podcasts, on these panels, during these chats, what do you bring to the table? Accolades aside, I want you to think about why Black women say the table. I am the table, because stability is very high on our list and we're able to maintain and sustain that stability on our own. So why wouldn't we want our counterparts, our friends, our partners to somehow match us in that? Why is that a problem? Can't Black women want stability in their partners as well? Now, I don't know many Black women who are getting tricked on. I don't know many of them, but I do know quite a few Black women who are just simply having a hard time with finding suitors to simply even meet them halfway, let alone get on their level. Even when it comes to just going on a date, going somewhere nice, spending the money and the time on a date. It is really challenging out here. These dating streets are not for the weak, number one, but they are definitely not for the weak for an educated Black woman. Clock it. And of course, this doesn't just come up when it comes to dating. It comes up in the relationship after the representative is gone, right? So I want you to think about the rep that you show people prior to showing them the real you. I know it's really hard for a lot of Black women to understand that because a lot of us are not out here with a lot of cap in our rap. However, we do know that we've experienced this, right? This is the perfect guy, it's the perfect girl, and somehow this person changes, going from 0 to 100 real quick in a matter of 3 months. They're a totally different person. And at that point, you're already invested, right? You're already in it. And a lot of people will just stick with it, right? And when it comes to Black women, when it comes to our standards, and when it comes to what we value and what we desire, somehow in connections, somehow in relationships, I see so many Black women who are getting chastised for having a standard, of how they want to be treated, of having a standard for what they expect in that relationship that is related to monetary values, right? That doesn't mean, oh, pay my bills every month and forget about yours. That doesn't mean that. But just simple things like maybe date night every week, or if you're going to be here at my house every day, you could pay at least one bill. Some of these things that are very honestly normal and things that are, not too much to ask. A lot of Black women are having a hard time just getting those things taken care of in the household, in their relationships, and it's hard to watch. We see it after the fantasy phase where maybe this person has bitten off more than they can chew, right? They're attracted to the Black woman based on all of the things that she has to offer, her accolades, her job, her earnings, her house, and don't forget the adornments, the hair, the nails, the makeup, the clothes, all of these things. And when you look at a Black woman and you look at how she presents and what attracted you to her in the first place, don't you think about the bills that are associated with that woman, the bills that she's already maintaining for herself. And what I see a lot of times when it comes to friends, when it comes to family, and we're chit-chatting about these relationships, a lot of times what attracted them to that Black woman is the very same thing that makes them almost remorseful of that Black woman in a relationship, in a connection, connection because you're going to have to work a little harder. She don't want to go to McDonald's. She want to go to the steakhouse. What's wrong with that? There was nothing wrong with it when you were courting her. There was nothing wrong with that when you were dating her. But somehow Black women are being asked, even in relationships, to lower their standards. You're asking for too much. Well, baby, if I can pay for it myself and you can't, that's okay. But that doesn't mean that we need to be in a relationship. Clock it. Black women spend a lot of time just dropping our fairy dust all over the place, just sprinkling it. Of course, in our aura, that could be in the way that we smell, the way that we walk, the way that we talk. That could be the things that we add to your life, being that bite of education that we paid for that you didn't. That could be the connections to maybe getting you a better job or getting you into some sort of skill or skill making class. That could be just the people that we know. Black women, we have a way of nurturing and we have a way of really leveling up the lives of others, whether that's male or female, they, them, whoever. We have a way of doing that. And I think that when it comes to us, many people, they're enjoying the fruits of our labor. They're enjoying them. But when it comes time for reciprocity, when it comes time for those things, we are coming up short. We're coming up short. And when Black women are actually vetting, before we get into it, somehow we are labeled as gold diggers. We're labeled as she asked for too much. She needs to lower her standards. We are just labeled as too much altogether. And I think it's high time for us to think about what that actually means and why we need to counter those things when we're approached with them, right? Black women were being asked to lower our standards, but is that realistic when it comes to all of the work that we put in, all of the effort that we put in to become these women, right? How realistic is it for us to lower our standard, and how sustainable is that in connection, in relationship, in platonic relationship? What does that really look like for us? Don't know, don't care because it's not realistic. And guess what? I ain't lowering shit. And also consider the fact that if we're asking Black women to lower their standards, are you ready to lower yours? Because clearly this girl is not on your level. Clock it. We've read the data. We know that these things exist. We know that Black women are overperforming, over-earning, and somehow we're coming up short. And instead of asking our counterparts to raise what they have to offer, whether that's a skill, whether that's schooling and education, whether that's your earnings, whether that's starting a business, instead of us being able to ask for better qualified partners, somehow we're being asked to dumb it down. And I think in reality, that just doesn't make much sense. And I want you to revisit this conversation every time you fix your lips to tell a Black woman to lower her standards. And if you're a Black woman who is being asked to lower her standards, I want you to revisit this too. The proof is in the pudding. The math ain't mathing. Are we for real right now? Because at the end of the day, many people are attracted to us, right? Visually, they see the adornments, they see the accolades, they see the table that we bring. They see all of the things that we have to offer, right? You see it? And they spend a lot of time shaming us for the things that we can naturally afford on our own, the things that we're maintaining on our own, because we've done the work to make the money to spend it on ourselves. And I really hope that this conversation helps anyone who is confused. Bye.